Hello and welcome to GovTech Viewpoints. My name is Teri Takai and I am excited to be with you here again. I'm joined by HP's Todd Gustafson for another interesting and fun conversation. Now, I think all of you may know this, but each of our episodes explores one big question that's facing state and local government decision makers as they adopt the next generation technologies. Todd and I always break down the latest news and the biggest trends and explain how we feel that they're going to impact, again, state and city and county leaders. So let's get started. Todd, last time we talked about the fact that what we're seeing out there is at the state and city and county level, that organizations are really embracing a hybrid work, and some remote work is still acceptable, but back to the office actually gives greater opportunities really for collaboration. In fact, some CIOs that I talked to said that that was really the driver, is that they felt that certain routine tasks were fine in a remote setting, but when it really came to idea generation and collaboration, and really being able to talk to people about and get that kind of give and take, it really required people being back in the office. And so this really means that it's a new technology suite. It isn't just Teams or Zoom or a collaborative platform, but we're really going to have technology actually in the office, but then that also expandable to the times where, in fact, we are remote. And so that's going to really mean a different kind of communication and a different way to kind of keep track of what we're doing. So, what are some of the things you're seeing out there, Todd, that's happening at the state and local level?
So greetings from Boston. It's a beautiful day here. It's great to be with you, Teri, and our colleagues online. We're seeing a myriad of different approaches. And before I even start there, your opening comment made me think of something that we're doing ourselves internally. Because if all we're doing is creating an environment where you're moving from my home office here, and I'm going to an HP office, and I'm conducting the same type of interaction, and what is gained? Frankly, nothing other than sitting in my car in traffic, not very environmentally conscious, if you will. But one of the things I would just throw that out to the team that we've done, which was fairly unique and highly valuable, not IT oriented, was we did coffee talks. And what we did was create an environment where we put, if you will, figuratively, everybody that wanted to participate in this, we put their name in a hat, figuratively. And we would say on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we're in the office. And it would allow you the opportunity, not just in a specific department, but more, you think about the size and breadth of HP as an example, lots of different teams, lots of different organizations, lots of different roles. But it would create a 30-minute window where, Teri, you and I had never met before. I got your name on an email and I got to know you. And we've been doing that virtually every week. And I must tell you that simple kind of approach in a very unscripted manner has elevated our game in terms of awareness, what others are doing. But more importantly, it brought up our game with understanding how we might engage with each other better in a way that you and I likely wouldn't have that same type of engagement if we were in a virtual type of environment. So I'll just give you that just simple non-technical approach to maybe our listeners in terms of what they might try to do, just to kind of mix it up to drive that social engagement, which is a really important part of the fabric on return to the office.
What I like really so much about that, Todd, is that I hadn't actually thought about it before, but you're absolutely right. This virtual environment tends to make us very task-oriented when we're on this virtual setting. And when we were face-to-face, we would ask someone, how are you? What's happening? What did you do yesterday for Mother's Day, all of that kind of thing. But we tend not to take those opportunities. So I love that because it's a technique that, well, as you say, it's not necessarily technology driven, but it says to us, we need to spend some time so that we can be understanding, we can be empathetic, but also it's all of those things that really drive creativity.
That's exactly what it is that level of creativity, awareness. And the other thing that happens, you and I both in senior roles within our organization, people do one of two things when their name gets drawn out of a hat to meet with me is, wow, this is a great opportunity for my career, or, oh boy, I'm not so sure I want to go do this. But for those of you who are career oriented, it really gives you in an unobtrusive manner the opportunity to talk about what you want to achieve in your career, particularly for some of our earlier career hires that are part of the mix. The other thing, back to the technology side, given our discussion that I would share, is that you and I are both in our work at home environment right now. We're having a great conversation. We can see each other. But in a work environment where we're moving from room to room to room, in a lot of cases, we end up wasting a tremendous amount of time when we walk into a conference room. We spend the first 10 minutes, in a lot of cases, maybe even a little bit more, on a 15-minute conversation, getting ourselves situated, number one. And number two is getting the technology to work, right? Whether we're having a Teams meeting, a Zoom meeting, a WebEx, a Google Chat, whatever it might be, that part of it is. And so there is lots of tools and tricks outside the industry now, where, particularly with near field communications, that you might walk in with your notebook, Teri, and it automatically knows this is Teri. And it automatically knows you have a Zoom meeting with Todd Gustafson at this time of day, and it will automatically allow you on your screen to hit connect. And whatever it might be, and think about the power of being able to be more conducive to not worrying about how it works, but rather the communication and the discussion that's going to happen as part of that. That's one of the biggest changes. The second thing, when you think about this collaboration, is that your work environment is different than my work environment, than my colleagues' work environment. And we're really focused on what I would say is creating not uniqueness, but rather if I was standing and you were sitting, or you were near a window, creating an environment where we're all equals in terms of our approach. My height would mirror your height, and your height would mirror my height. Your voice inflection would mirror mine, so I don't speak over you. So to drive this commonality in a way that is really effective to make sure that one person doesn't. Now, that doesn't prevent me from dominating the conversation or someone else from dominating the conversation, but it's a more common approach from a technology standpoint. So we look and act equal digitally.
No, I love that, Ted, because the other thing that you mentioned, which I want to highlight, is that, we always talk about this either all virtual or all together. And that's really not going to be the case anymore. To your point about the technology, we really need to be able to walk in, for those in the room, if you will, physically be able to talk to those that are there virtually without having, to your point, a lot of the quote setup issues that we have. So that piece of the technology, I kind of don't feel it's there yet. It's sort of there, but not from the standpoint that it's seamless and that it just absolutely happens. But I think the other thing is that we're going to be reliant, back to the technology, on tools that make sure that we're being collaborative and creative and we're doing the idea generation, but that when we leave the face-to-face, if that's where the creativity happens, that we can go off and still manage our tasks, make sure we're getting to the deliverables that we've laid out. And I also feel like the technology hasn't quite caught up with us yet, particularly if you think about just pure project planning and project management. That needs to get integrated into the fabric of what we do.
It's a big part, but technology can be an enabler or a disabler, very much. And if you think about one of the things that software companies have done an incredibly effective job is leveraging telemetry in order to deliver what I would say is a positive outcome, or even your, if I dare say, my Apple phone that I have in my hand, in terms of providing updates on applications, updates on the settings in terms of the software version I have. And now that power is out in the marketplace. We work with a state out in the western part of the U.S. that's done, and it has changed their entire approach with regards to how do they manage a very disparate workforce that sometimes comes to the office that might be 500 miles away, but has the similar needs as somebody else. And so that telemetry that was derivated from software is now available from on a hardware perspective. So it eliminates what I would say those disconnects that might have happened in the past in terms of having hardware and technology able to operate at the speed that you so desire, right? And so lots of folks in the industry are taking advantage of this. Relatively low cost, huge improvement in terms of outcomes for our users.
Well, Todd, let me just come back at you, though. When you say telemetry, give me a couple of examples just to make sure that I'm following exactly what you mean by that.
Well, might we be able to look at your device remotely, not look at what you're doing, right, or your keystrokes or anything like that? It's not a Big Brother approach, but rather understand, have you patched your machine? Do you have the current BIOS? Do you have the current drivers? Is your Windows version up to date? And it will give you a score of 1 to 100, and it would say, Terry, your device health is operating at, let me just pick a number, 50% as an example. And I will quickly determine what you need to go do and alert you to improve your overall user experience with that device, that you should make these changes in that in your environment to deliver a better outcome for you. That's the kind of way that we need to be thinking about that. So the telemetry is basically providing a look-see into how your hardware is operating in a way that overall experience might be improved.
And if you think about
for CISO, pardon me if I could, if you're a CISO,
I was just going to go there, Todd. You beat me to it.
So if you're a CISO, how much don't you really want to know what your risk vector looks like and how you might minimize that risk vector?
Well, also think about what it would do from the standpoint of efficiency for the poor help desk guys. I mean, I know maybe that's not a big part, but it is a big part. And how many questions really are the result of the equipment or the software or something not being right? I mean, how many times do you get on and say, you're muted, I can't hear you, I can't see you, my camera doesn't work? That's another part of the being able to support, as well as the security piece that, I was going to mention as well, because that's the bane of a CISO, right? Is people not keeping up and knowing that their equipment is up to date.
I would close this topic a little bit, Terry, by industry. There's an element, if you will, in terms of salespeople that they can be used as an enabler or a bane of engagement for CIOs or IT leaders in government. And what I would tell you is that you need to find the right folks that can help improve your mission and your constituents' outcome and your users' outcome. They're out there. Your goal is to find them. My father always reminded me, Terry, if I could, everyone that graduates from medical school is a doctor. Your goal is to find the one that graduates at the top of their class, right? If you need medical care. And the same thing applies to IT. There's a lot of folks that graduate in the top of their class that can really enable you. The goal is to find those key enablers for your government agency.
Outstanding, Todd. Well, gosh, I can't believe what a fantastic topic. Well, thanks for listening today to GovTech Viewpoints. Now be sure to subscribe to the series on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Spotify, so you won't miss an episode. And Todd, next time you and I are going to get together and talk about the topic that's out there for everyone, and that is, how is artificial intelligence reshaping the way that government's really looking at their compute requirements? So we're going to talk about everything from data centers to endpoint compute power. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on our next GovTech Viewpoints.